Caelen, how you doing? How you holding up?
Better than I deserve is what I've recently been saying.
Yeah.
Dave Ramsey says that.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? That's what it is. Better than I deserve, for sure.
So we talked a little bit outside, and you kind of had a rough night last night. Can you kind of tell me what went on, what's happening, what you're struggling with?
Excuse me. So yeah, me and a buddy that I met here while in treatment. We had the great idea of getting a hotel and, getting our issue in type of thing before going into me dropping him off at detox somewhere, and then me after that coming over here to do the podcast. Okay. It was already like set in my head, like this is kind of the direction that I'm gonna move in personally, and things just I guess you could say they did go as planned, because I don't, like we were kind of talking about, God's plan was probably like just this exactly for it to go haywire.
Right.
But drugs were involved. For me personally, methamphetamine has always been like the thing that brings me the lowest, and this was definitely one of those new lows that was like, okay, holy cow! Like they're right. It does get worse, yeah. Type of thing.
So last night you knew you were gonna try to come in here and get sober, but you just wanted one last run. So just take me through like the chain of events of last night. What happened?
So let me think. Well, on August 1st, I think I'll start there. The lease on my brother's apartment was up. So after that, I wouldn't say homeless necessarily, because I still had my car, but all of my stuff was packed, and I was just kind of wandering aimlessly until my dad kind of gave me a little bit of positive direction and was like, just go get your medication from your sister type of thing, because I had some medication sent to her address, seeing as I didn't know where I was going to go after the lease was up at my brother's apartment. And so I go to North Hills, get my medication, kind of have honestly like a regular few hours with my sister, do some laundry and meet her housemates and just have just a regular conversation. And the day after that, or that following night, was, I would say, probably the beginning of like a 2-day just extravaganza, to say the least, really. I had met up with this person that I had found on Grindr, because I always like Grindr, even though I wouldn't consider myself like that I'm attracted to men or anything like that, or if not like that it's any problem, but I always kind of make a joke. I'm like, yeah, gay people got the best dope. It's like, it seems like that community definitely, I don't know. I feel like that might get down a little.
That's okay.
A little bit of an offensive. I don't want to be necessarily apprehensive to say stuff, but I hope that
not at
if
all.
anybody's listening,
our
that
story
they don't.
Our story. So you're going on Grindr, trying to meet people with the intent of finding people that have what you're looking for, which is meth.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's kind of, as soon as I found that as an avenue to obtain meth, and it was like, that was at least an option if, I didn't just meet somebody out on the street one day, or, there's where I grew up in Victorville, there's some spots, specifically like one spot that I always know I'm just like, if I go over there and, if I don't immediately find somebody who has it. All I have to do is just wait for a couple minutes, and then some person will pop up, type of thing. So,
okay, so you're out of your brother's apartment. It's been a couple days. You and your friend get a hotel room last night, and what happened?
well, he's doing his thing, and which is fentanyl, and I'm doing my thing, the meth, and I drank a 40 of like some Mickeys or something like that, or actually it was King Cobra, and not that it matters, but so yeah, I'm drinking, smoking way too many cigarettes, and he's doing his thing, I'm doing my thing, and eventually that turns into, just kind of the domino effect of just just moving around a lot, like meth, tweaker stuff. And I'm peeking out of the blinds. I'm up, and then I'm like back on the bed, like just trying to relax for 10 seconds. And then I'm like up doing just weirdo shit. And so that started kind of ramping up, and because I was continuing to do more and more and more, and all I had to do was go outside of the room and chat with some people, and somehow, some way, some more just ended up, into the mix. And it was like one of those hotels where it was like the majority of people there are either selling dope, doing dope, or both, or freaking some sort of sketchy activity. So yeah, and then because my main thing whenever I guess you could call me like the cliche tweaker type of person. It's paranoia, peeking out the window, just like that like a lot of pornography and just weird taboo stuff. It's like kind of like drug addiction, I guess, in general, to where it's like you need more of the same thing to get like what it used to be, type of thing. I mean, I know there's like such a more concise way to say it, but I think you get the gist. Is like with the porn side, then it's like, more taboo. It's like, oh, now I'm watching this genre and this genre and this genre. And so yeah, so that's I'm trying to do that, but not being able to, successfully, or quote unquote successfully, achieve, all of my desires, really, just
Right.
in the moment. And there came a point when the paranoia got to the point where I'm like, oh, it would be a great idea for me to just take all of the rest of the meth that I have, and since the cops are coming, then like let's keister it, bro. Like that's a great idea, you know what I mean? And so that's what I did. And at a certain point, I just felt my heart start. I mean, I should have went to the hospital. It's actually it's a miracle, and as I say it, I don't even really believe that, but I really is, like, just on a practical level, a miracle that I'm like here and not in a hospital. That my heart was like, and couple that with the paranoia, and it was a very, very bad situation, uncontrollable. Couldn't stop walking in and out and all that, and it got to the point where I was like, I'm convinced that I was overdosing. Like, I overdosed on meth last night, and I go into the bathroom, and we're just gonna keep it gritty here. I go into the bathroom, and I'm trying to get this thing out of the poop chute, and it's not like I'm just so like wired and hyped up. I'm just like, I can't focus and just relax and just, you know, unfuck myself in kind of a funny, literal way. But how much longer do we have left?
We've got time. So
no, I'm just kidding. But yeah. So I'm doing that, trying to get this out, because I know that if I leave whatever is in there, that it's gonna get worse at the very least. Mm-hmm. Probably would have died. Maybe I mean, I don't know, but I was doing that, trying to get that out. I eventually, thank God, got it out, and my buddy that I was with, he luckily, like, I mean, according to him, he flushed the rest of it. I mean, I would believe that. I don't know if he's the type of person that would necessarily, you know, use somebody's butt meth, you know. I mean, I can't say the same for myself. When I get to like a certain point, I'm like, it's insane the lines that I will cross that I never even, that I would say, I'm like, yeah, I would never even do that.
Yeah. So
that transpires, and I mean, the rest is just, I'm going outside and having interactions with all the other people that are, you know, doing their own thing. You know, you got the meth, the weed, the whatever else was there. People coming up asking if we knew where to get fentanyl. I mean, it was just a drug, at least from my perspective, just a drug hotspot. So there's going to be that group of people there, or there was rather. And I'm chit-chatting with a couple of these people here and there, you know, finding meth and like trading a watch that somebody gave me for like pennies on the dime, I think is pennies on the dollar, just to keep the party going. And I meet this one guy who seems kind of chill. I mean, at least initially things weren't like sketchy, but we're talking, and I'm like, I can't like stay inside, so I keep on going outside and like coming up to people and just being weird. And really, I felt that I was doing that, not only being weird, but, and maybe this was just my perspective and my judgment on myself, but I felt the energy of like, we don't want you around here acting like that. Mm-hmm. And so I'm getting super in my head, just paranoid, just weirded out. And this guy, what now, looking back, probably was him just kind of grooming me to set me up for, you know, something to rob me or something like that, which is interesting because I kind of sensed a tiny semblance of just the griminess. Like there's certain people you just be like, like you can for sure tell, or you're like, no, that's, but I don't know. With this particular person, I just didn't seem to have the wherewithal to set my boundaries and just relax and make sure that I get to where I need to get to the next day, which is what I was telling my buddy the whole time. I'm like, hey, dude, I don't care. We don't got to eat tonight. We don't got to do nothing tonight. Like, it doesn't matter as long as I get here, you know, to at this table type of thing. So those events unfold. I meet this guy, and we're chatting, and I guess I start to think in my head that I'm like, oh, he's just like this cool. He's trying to help me out. Because I was asking people, I'm like, hey, I'm like super in my head. I can't relax. I can't lay down. I mean, I'm keeping it 100. I'm like, hey, I'm like twacked out right now. And just asking people, I'm like, I just feel like I need a person to talk to. Like I need to be outside and like just face the world type of thing, because you get me in like a little closet and add in some paranoia and all that, it just like gets way worse. But not to say the alternative, going outside in regular society where people have, you know, their kids walking around and,
Right.
you know, they're walking their dogs and just having a regular day, and then, you know, see this guy just in this, you know, motel parking lot.
So what happened
You know
with
what I
this
mean?
guy? Did he end up robbing you, or?
I don't know for sure. I mean, it makes more sense that is what happened than, you know, it not happening like that. But for whatever reason, it ended up him in the driver's seat of my car and me in the passenger seat consensually. I mean, I knew I shouldn't drive. I mean, I was almost 100% sure I was going to get a DUI at the very least if I drove. So maybe he utilized that to his advantage to kind of convince me. He was like, well, you sit in the passenger seat, like I'll drive, and drove around for a little bit and said, basically like, wait here. You know, when we get to a spot, he's like, all right, I'm going to take you to my mom and dad's house. And I was just like, okay, yeah, like, yeah, whatever. And we get to his mom and dad's house, or, you know, wherever he was planning on going. He gets out. He has like my main key. I got my like spare key in my like small pouch in my backpack. And I get out. He told me to like wait in there, so I'm waiting in there for like 2.5 seconds, and I'm like, I gotta get out and get on my skateboard and just freaking move around. And eventually it went from like just being around the perimeter of the car to just like going all the way down this street. And this is Long Beach, and I'm not familiar with the area, so I got lost pretty quickly. And I mean, my car could very possibly still be at the same spot that it was this morning, or, which is also pretty likely, he, you know, took it, and, you know, it's wherever it's at, you know.
So your car and all your stuff right now is missing. So, okay.
Right.
So I want to kind of back up a little bit, Caelen. Tell me about like 10-year-old Caelen. You know, what were you like, you know, growing up as a kid? What kind of family do you come from? What do you want to be when you grow up? Obviously, we don't start out thinking that we want to be addicts and alcoholics. So talk to me about who that guy was, who that 10-year-old little boy was that grew up in Victorville.
I don't know about specifically the 10-year-old at that specific age, but I would say around that time, what would that be? Like I think I was 7 when I went to first grade, so
Yeah, third,
11.
fourth grade.
I'm just like, I think I'm how I was the previous 9 years. I just, when I look back as a kid and try to analyze what my core personality was, like who I was, I think I was just like a goofball. It's just high energy, a goofball, just wanting to make people laugh and just say funny stuff and, you know, just crack jokes kind of. And around, I would say, teenage, like 12, 13, that's when the kind of rebellious spirit started to take hold and led into, you know, just anything that anybody told me not to do. I was at the very least intrigued in it, but most of the time would do it in spite of that.
So at 10, you were just a funny kid, liked to make people laugh, had a lot of energy.
I mean, maybe I thought I was funny. Maybe I really wasn't funny. I mean, that's possible too, you know. But I would like to think I was. But yeah, just always like joking around, just just laughing, having a good time.
What were your interests as a kid, as a teenager? Music, sports? What were some things you were into?
I had so many. I'm pretty much interested on a very basic level in everything, really. Like I can kind of get into an interesting conversation about any topic of life. So there's probably like lawyer at one point in time, doctor, just anything that I like could explore in my mind is like, does that entice me to actually take it from, you know, my head type of thing, just thoughts, and actually start moving in that direction to create it as a reality. So I would just shift in and out of these different phases, I guess, of, oh, this is what I want to do. Wait, no, I don't want to do that anymore. This is what I want to do, type of thing. And yeah, so I
just like most kids, you know, thinking of, oh, that sounds cool, or maybe that's neat, or yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't aware.
What kind of family life did you have growing up?
I guess, well, dad was in the military, in the Army. I got older sister, a younger sister, and an older brother, and all born on military bases around the country. Me and my older sister, who took me here, were born in the same hospital, same base. But you know, mom's from the UK, so got a half Brit in me, and she was born in Liverpool, so just kind of I guess a standard military kid lifestyle, or military family lifestyle. Just in terms of certain times where dad's gone doing his duty, on deployment or something, and 9/11 happens, so we end up living in Germany for 3 years, and he goes to Iraq while we're out there. And it's interesting. My mom tells me that out of all 4 kids, I was the one that couldn't stop crying when my dad left for Iraq for that first time. And I kind of look back at that, which one of the therapists that used to work here as well, I believe, Crystal, I don't think she works here anymore, but she was my first therapist here. And she kind of alluded, she's like, maybe you blame yourself for that, and it just kind of makes no sense for a child to blame himself for something that literally was not his fault. But from a certain perspective, it makes sense that a child would blame him or herself for a traumatic event,
right,
rather than the caretakers, because to blame them for that would kind of breed a little bit more uncertainty and lack of security in their own life. So it's like, oh, I'm the kid. Of course it's my fault. I'm not perfect, but my parents are, type of thing. But yeah, that happens. I mean, he comes back, everything's fine. Then we end up moving back to California, but in a civilian type of fashion. So just moving to Victorville, California, up in the high desert.
How old were you when you moved to Victorville?
That would have been 7. So, yeah, 0 to 3, it was like North Carolina, where I was born, to California, where my little sister was born. And then we went to Germany for 3 years, and then back to California as my dad was getting ready to retire from the Army. So, yeah, 7 is when the age that I was when we moved back.
And so you've been in California ever since?
Yes, other than not until April of this year is when, let me get this right. I got back from living in Florida for 1.5 years. Mm-hmm. I got back out in California, specifically Hesperia at my brother's apartment, in April of this year. And my parents had sold the house in Victorville and got a house in Florida. So went out there for a little bit, then came back out here in April.
So what age did using drugs, drinking, what age did that start happening? And kind of take me through that progression. And
So I don't know. I think probably like 14 really is when I had enough cojones to like actually partake in some sort of substance.
What was the first thing you ever did? Was it alcohol?
I mean, I probably had like a sip of alcohol when I was like a young kid. You know,
Right.
my dad just like, yeah, you could have just a taste or something.
Right.
So, I mean, maybe that's kind of where things started. But yeah, I started smoking weed when I was like 14, 15, and drinking along with that, and just pretty much anything I could get my hands on, just with the mentality of just, oh, I'm curious about how this makes me feel and how this makes me feel. But it was mostly a lot of marijuana and drinking at first, and pills here and there, like muscle relaxers, stuff like that. But 15, I think, yeah, the age of 15 or 16 is when I first tried meth, which is an interesting story. I just wanted to do coke for the first time, and they were like, oh, we don't have that, but we can get this. And I'm like apprehensive at first, but caved in. And I think I just like stared at my friend's clock in his garage the whole time, just like super focused. But although that experience was not necessarily I don't tell that with like just a smile on my face, because it was just, took a hit of this thing, and for whatever reason, it just has always been like lurking in my brain, just like, when can we get more of that type of thing.
So immediately that turned that switch on for you from the first time.
Yeah, and for a couple months there, I started, moving in the direction of losing weight. My dad finally asking me, like, hey, are you using meth? Like, blatantly asked me, are you using meth specifically? And I tell him, no, I'm not doing that. But yeah, it was starting to become noticeable to others. And I don't know how or why, but I seem to have been able to, like, pull my head out of my ass just enough to move away from that scene. I kind of stopped hanging around with the crowd that I was doing it with, and still smoking weed and drinking though, so it was only a matter of time after like a couple years after not doing any meth that I relapsed on that. And probably since then it's been like less and less frequent in between relapses, or less and less time in between relapses, with meth specifically, outside of treatment. So
When's the first time you went to treatment? How old were you?
This was September of 2019, so let's see, 20, I think it was 22.
Okay.
22 or 23.
And you're 26 now?
26, yeah.
Okay.
So.
And back then you were on your parents' insurance?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. So talk to me a little bit about how that works and the position you're in now because of your age.
Well, I mean, like I was telling you and Camille on just right over there, over my cheddar bacon brioche sandwich of just absolute deliciousness. I was so focused on like getting those like words about the sandwich right. I forgot what I was saying.
We're talking about your insurance. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, insurance, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've had ample time to switch, to get another sort of insurance thing lined up before the one that I had lapsed, which was TRICARE's. I believe it's just military.
So why did your insurance lapse?
I turned 26, and to be honest with you, I don't know if it did for sure lapse.
Yeah. So it's my understanding the law is when you turn 26, you can no longer be on your parents' insurance. So that happened, and then you were left without insurance, correct?
So I suspect. I mean, I haven't looked at it specifically or called and talked to actual people and said, ask the questions to figure that out in, concrete detail. But I'm pretty sure, I don't have insurance anymore.
Got it. So if you didn't have this opportunity, there would be a definite barrier for you getting help and treatment right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So what made you kind of decide to call our admissions person, Camille, and ask to come to treatment? Like what was going on with you that just made you decide you wanted to stop again?
That's interesting. I mean, I could probably talk about it for however long, but to not take too much time, I mean, I had been here before, and I knew Camille and always had such an affinity for beginnings treatment centers specifically, because, the first treatment center I went to, I was there for 4 days, and I drove back home because I drove to the treatment center, which wasn't necessarily the best idea. So maybe, what happened with me not having my car and all that is a good thing, because each time I've been here, haven't driven here, and I've stayed. So maybe that's one of the factors that definitely contributes. But at any rate, I've always loved this place. Like this Beginnings Treatment Center, SEC, or it is the first treatment center that I completed a program at, so 90-day program, and cool, after a couple weeks after that, until paycheck got in my pocket, then it was, party time, and went back, completed the 90-day program again, and I think at that point I was kind of getting too used to that whole world, just the treatment world, and maybe just comfortable with it, and just not going to that next level of getting plugged in deeper and deeper into a network of people that are on a similar path, or want to be on a similar path as far as just getting sober and living a better life goes. So yeah, I just love this place. So it was a no-brainer,
Great.
If I have that option, sorry to interrupt, but if I have that option, then I'll explore that first, because this is just,
So when you think about sobriety, and you've met a lot of people probably through going through treatment and in the sobriety circles that have some long-term sobriety and really have some amazing stories, where can you see yourself in a year from now?
In a year from now? Well, so I got the coming down or just still high part, where I'm not even thinking about a year, but just like getting that next fix type of thing, which is kind of like the dominant thing. I'm like, I don't even know what a year would look like, nor like care in a sense. Like, it's not like I don't care, but anyways, a year from now, I honestly don't know. I have no clue. I think if I humble myself and I put in the work, and just am open to new ways of approaching sobriety for me personally, if I do those things, that in a year from now I'll be at the very least better than where I'm at right now.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's good. And
better,
so
I would say.
Right now you're, just so people understand where you're at, you're fighting that battle of just being consumed with wanting to use, even though it's killing you.
Yeah. I mean, I do know it, but I don't. In a sense, it's certainly act like I don't. I mean, my ego has probably been one of my biggest hindrances in my life, if not the biggest hindrance, because like, yeah, that'll happen to them, but not to me. You know, I won't be on the streets. I won't go here, and I won't go down the ladder further and further, so to speak. But it usually tends to at least get to that point after. I mean, it gets to the point at some point in time, I guess.
Right.
You know.
Well, Caelen, what I want to tell you is, you know, South Coast Counseling is where you've been. You've all been to South Coast Counseling and Beginnings, which are two treatments that we operate and run. But South Coast Counseling is a beautiful program, and it's the oldest treatment center in Orange County. I don't know if you know that. It's been around since 1968. It's older than I am. You know, and part of our mission is to try to give as many people access to treatment as possible, regardless of where they are with their insurance. And that's one of the things we want to offer you is a scholarship to try to get you back on your feet and moving in the right direction. I really heard what you said about last time you went through our programs. You didn't do a lot of things to connect yourself with the recovery community outside of the treatment center, which I think is a very important part of being able to maintain sobriety. And you know, giving back and coming back to our alumni meeting and finding your group of people, because a lot of the things I heard about your life is this group of people, that group of people, you know. And so really want you to think about that when you're going through this time. But I want to thank you for coming in and being so open and honest. And I know that's not easy to do, and I want to thank you for doing it on camera where some other people can maybe take a look at what you're going through. And I hope that we're able to sit at this table in 6 months and talk about this conversation, and you're having some success, you know, and that's the goal. And I think you can do that if you'll put the work into it. And I can tell you it's not going to be easy, but it's a lot easier than what you were doing in that hotel room last night. So.
Roger that.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
thank
right.
you. I appreciate it,
All
man.
right. Well, let me give you a hug, and we'll just wrap up.
Got the hug. Got to get the hug on cam here.
Yeah. All right. Is that good, Cole?
Solid.